What's up, Gaming Rebellion, and welcome to Game Revolt's Rebel Yell Gaming Podcast, where we talk about what's going on in the gaming world and share our thoughts for changing that world for the better, putting indie developers and gamers first. My name is Dirac, joined by our head honcho and Game Revolt's founder, Isaiah, and we'd love for you to join us as we have real conversations and navigate the industry. So, let's get into it. But first, a quick thank you to our community of rebels for tuning in. All right, what's up, Gaming Rebellion? I'm here with Isaiah. We're here we were going over some topics. We were looking at Epic Games, and they're currently trying to reduce their royalty rates to try and attract game developers. Right now, they're saying that for using their Unreal Engine, effective in January 2025, they're going to lower their rate from, I believe it was 5% to 3.5% for royalty rates to boost developer engagement and basically just incentivizing developers to launch their games on their store. And I thought it was interesting because Epic is clearly trying to get more people to develop games and put them on their market. And from my perspective, at least, I believe it's simply to try to come up and compete with Steam. I might be overreaching by saying that they're trying to compete, but basically just trying to get to that level where people would be more inclined to buy games from their store to kind of balance out the market. But I don't know if you've heard anything about the story or if it was anything that sounded interesting to you.
Oh yeah. So the thing is, it's not just trying to compete with Steam. This applies to consoles as well. You have games that release on console first, and then they get their PC port later. So right. Epic's trying to get people to, number one, use their engine because that gives them the royalty rate, and then launch it on their store, because your launch day is when you make the most money. That's when the most people are looking to buy your product. For the most part, you have games that scale as they continuously get better. But as we see, the trends now is people buy on launch and then, they'll forget about it within the next month. After a month or so, you forget that game even exists anymore. So going for the launch sale is actually, it's a smart tactic. And the thing is that, is this going to work? I don't know, because Epic already only charges 12% of the game's revenue, whereas Steam charges 30%. So Epic already has a lower rate, and that's not attracting. It's not so much what I feel is going to attract developers are users. So you need to get people on your platform in order for developers to want to invest in your platform. The thing is that Steam has been investing. Steam wasn't always what it is today. Steam has been continuously investing in this platform for years to make it the behemoth that it is right now. And users appreciate that. Here, most people don't have a problem with Steam. They love Steam. The user doesn't see that extra 30% that the developer is being charged. For them, Steam is just convenient. It's a great place to have all your games saved. I know for me, when I built my new computer and I went and I downloaded Steam again, I didn't have to start over in all my games. Steam has cloud saves, and it just saves all my games there. Like it's a very, very convenient feature. So these new platforms are having a really hard time getting users away from Steam and onto there. So this is a strategy to give the developer more money, theoretically. But if you'd rather have, because Steam's base is so big, you'd rather have 30%. You'd rather only get 70% of that than the 88% that you would have gotten from Epic.
Right. It actually kind of makes me think that someone mentioned before that with Steam, one of the issues that they're facing right now is that they're too oversaturated with all different kinds of genres. So it makes it more difficult for developers to get seen, especially now that there are more games being created for the young hopefuls who want to get out there and become the next big hit or the next cult classic. Like, they really have to market themselves, and for something platform like Steam that would give them the little bit of a push to get there, they still have to market themselves in order to make back on their returns, or basically just meet their goals. It also kind of makes me think of when you have like itch.io, and you have Epic Games. They're trying to reach Steam status. Steam already has it. They have everything together as far as the convenience for cloud gaming and whatnot. It's kind of the same with like the cell phone market. You have Apple, it's on top. Like,
Hmm.
whenever someone talks about cell phones, it's, oh, iPhone this, iPhone that. And they barely really have to do much in order to attract people to them, because they've already set the standard. It's just like, if you want a good phone, you go for iPhone. And I kind of think of that when I think of Steam. Like, Steam is kind of the standard now. So now the goal is, how do you reach that standard and make it so that your brand can match up with that brand?
So there's a few ways. Well, there's two ways that I can think of off the top of my head. Is number one, just you have to be better than the competition.
Hmm.
You have to offer something of more value. If for me as a user, if Epic Games doesn't offer, and I don't use Epic, so I actually don't know. But if you don't offer the same value that Steam does, or if you offer the same value that Steam does, why would I switch? You
Mm.
have to be offering more for me. Epic offers a lot more for developers. Now, one of the things I've heard is that Epic took ratings off of their platform, which is supposed to be better for developers so that you don't get review bombed or whatever. But as a
Right.
user, that's bad for me because I want to see, what do other people think about this. You get to see on Steam, at least, that this person, he bought the game, he or she bought the game,
Mhm.
they played X amount of hours, and this is what they had to say about it. I
Right.
appreciate that as a user. Taking that away seems like you're more that's more friendly to corporate, but it's not friendly to me as a user. So these kind of things make it hard for me to get away from Steam and onto these other platforms. Now, the other way that you can win is I don't know if you heard this studio called Wolfire Games.
Mm-mm.
They're currently suing Valve for anti-competitive behavior. Yeah, they filed a lawsuit with them back in 2021.
Mm-mm.
Because the thing is that you're not allowed to sell Steam keys for cheaper on another store. So, of course, if you're selling Steam keys cheaper on another store, Valve doesn't get their cut on that. But Valve is the one who's hosting the game. They have the save files, the cloud save. Like, they're paying for it, but you're selling it cheaper somewhere else, so people would just buy it on that somewhere else, right?
Right. Right.
So they don't allow you to do that. So I don't think it would be much of an issue, but the problem is that emails have surfaced because of this lawsuit from employees saying that the Valve doesn't want you to publish, even if you weren't selling Steam keys. Valve doesn't want to publish your game on their platform if you're selling it cheaper anywhere else. Now that's where we get into the more anti-competitive behavior. So a judge recently, well, in the initial filing, the judge ruled that Wolfire didn't have enough evidence. They needed to bring more forward. So they refiled in 2023, and they said instead that Valve has such a dominant market share that they are forcing you to pay these higher prices and not allowing you to give consumers better value. So the judge threw away Steam's defense. Steam tried to say, well, there's Microsoft, there's Epic Games, but Steam has 75% of the market. So
Wow.
yeah, so the judge kind of threw away the defense and is saying, like, well, this is something that might actually have to be settled in court. Now, something interesting is in your Steam user agreement, you signed whenever you decide to sign up on Steam, saying that you wouldn't participate in any kind of class action lawsuit against Steam. You
Huh.
would be, yeah, you would be in forced arbitration. So this is going to be a lot
Oh.
cheaper for Steam if there is an issue. And Steam kind of generously says like they would pay up to like $10,000 or whatever in like legal fees and whatever in this forced arbitration. Again, they don't want you to actually have a class action lawsuit, actually have a judgment against them, and now there's laws, there's precedent that
Right.
Steam would have to follow.
Right.
So this law firm, Zeiger and Mason, I
Hmm.
want to they realized that now that Steam's defense on that they're on these it's not anti-competitive because of all these other stores
Right.
is there
Hmm.
that even though they can't file a class action lawsuit, they're reaching out to Steam users and saying, hey, we can file a lawsuit on your behalf. So they say they have over 50,000 users that have said that they are willing to go through this forced arbitration. Now here's the thing, if
Hmm.
Steam said, hey, we're willing to pay up to $10,000 in your fees,
Hmm.
do the math times 50,000
Hmm.
people, that's a lot of money that Steam's going to have, or Valve's going to have to pay out
Right.
doing it this way. So Valve
Hmm.
is saying they're being extorted, basically, that this isn't about helping the little guy. This law firm found a way to, clever use of game mechanics, right? Like,
Hmm.
yeah, you're taking advantage of. So you might have noticed that recently Steam pushed out another user agreement where that clause is out that they're going to pay the $10,000. But
Yeah.
it also says that you don't have to go through forced arbitration, and you are allowed to go through the class action lawsuit process. Now, my thinking is in doing that, they're trying to show like they're not exploiting their dominant market position in
Hmm.
order to help with this case.
Right.
But here's where it gets like a little messed up for me is that if you have to agree to this, right? Or otherwise you can't use Steam.
Right.
And if you continue using Steam, but you didn't agree to the new terms of service, inside of it says, let me actually get the actual quote. Your failure to delete your account prior to the effective date of the amendment will constitute your acceptance of the amended terms.
I
So
remember reading that. Yep.
if you don't delete your account, then you just agree to these new amended terms. Now, I don't like that because it's like you either agree to these new terms or all the money you've spent on this platform is just going to evaporate. All the games that you bought before, like,
Right.
you have to delete. So I understand Valve's position, but this is where we're going a little bit too far.
Yeah. I I remember reading that agreement. I remember when it came up, and I was going to play one of my games on Steam, and I saw that agreement. I was looking through it, and I was just like, "Oh, so now you can't do arbitration anymore. Now you have to go to court if you decide to sue them or whatever." It was like that's pretty specific, but I didn't really think much of it because, as far as I was concerned, it didn't really pertain to me. I'm not looking to sue them, not yet.
Right.
But I find it kind of interesting that they have to walk this tightrope, but at the same time I'm not too surprised because like you mentioned, like they have 75% of the market. Like they, of course, if they want to hold their position, they have to make sure that they are not stepping on eggshells or anything like that. And if they piss off the gamers, it would give other companies such as Epic Games and itch.io and other distributors a chance to kind of come up. I'm sure that Valve wouldn't want that to happen, although I don't want to say how much they would care should that happen, because it would relieve some of the pressure that they have on their necks right now. But they're clearly in a bit of a tight spot, and
Yeah.
I would think that being in that spot, you might just like pull back a little bit. Like the last thing I would do personally is just be like, oh, well, now I'm going to give you this agreement. Whether or not you agree to it doesn't really matter, because if you want to be a customer, then you're just going to agree to it or delete your stuff. Like I didn't realize that was what they were saying with the agreement, because again, I looked through it. I was just like, all right, it doesn't really pertain to me, but that's a huge red flag right there.
Yeah, and something else I didn't put in the quote was that
Mhm.
this applies retroactively as well. So
Okay.
this law firm, they have these 50,000 people, that users that are willing to proceed forward with
Mhm.
this case. They might have, if any of these users continued using Steam based on this agreement, then Valve wouldn't be on the hook for that 10K. That
Okay, so like that's what it is. It's
Now,
just
that's
like,
assuming that this agreement can actually hold up in court. I'm not a lawyer, I can't tell you, but I find it
mm.
very hard to believe that you can retroactively force somebody to agree to this. Otherwise, the thousands of dollars, I don't know how much, you spend on your Steam account is
Right,
just gone.
right. I mean, I don't know if courts would care as much, but like that's too far. That's way too far. But to be in a position where you think that you can get away with that, that's some nerve. But
It is, but and it kind of sucks because it was like they were forced into this position. Because why would a company pay for your legal fees?
mhm,
It seems like they were being generous, but because they're being exploited in this case,
mhm,
now they have to walk it back and do this kind of like underhanded tactic, which, if you look at their history, it doesn't, to me anyways,
mhm,
I'm sure other people might disagree, but it doesn't seem like Steam has been anti-consumer. I think the reason why they're so dominant is because of their pro-consumer practices. So it does
mhm,
kind of suck that they've been forced into this position.
mhm.
Hopefully they walk it. I don't know, because would a judge say like, yeah, this is actually legally binding,
Mhm.
that as long as they continue to use their account without agreeing to it, then it means that they agreed to it.
Mm.
That I'm not sure.
So I'm just not a fan of this move made by Steam. I mean, I don't have anything against Steam as a platform. I've always seen them as pretty consumer friendly, but this approach where users essentially lose access to their entire library if they don't agree to the updated terms, that just feels extreme and maybe even legally questionable. Sure, I get it. Companies want to protect themselves from exploitation, and they even set aside money for arbitration, but I think this could have been a chance for Steam to just take a step back and look at where they stand in the industry. Steam has done a great job for establishing convenience for gamers, from using cloud storage for game accessibility and whatnot. Personally, I rely on them heavily for PC gaming. I literally use them like almost every day. So I would like to see them thrive, but maybe they could use the situation as a cue to scale back a little, allowing some room for other platforms to emerge, like Epic and itch.io. They're already exploring virtual reality and pushing for innovation, which I think is fantastic, but monopolizing the space too tightly could just stifle creativity. Letting their competitors come up wouldn't hurt them. I mean, they own 70+% of the market. So, at the end of the day, monopolies tend to shut down innovation. While I appreciate Steam's consumer first approach, I'd really like to see them ease off just enough to avoid holding the market too tightly. If they meant well with these terms, I hope it works out for them, but really stepping back a little could benefit both them and the industry as a whole.
It's gonna sound weird, but I'm not really anti monopoly just for the sake of it. I
Mm-hmm.
think that the issue becomes when you have a monopoly, then you can become anti-competitive, which leads to bad experiences for your users.
I see.
Now, the thing is, again, like I said, if you want competition, Epic is already available, and they do things that are anti-user, like the not allowing reviews on the platform.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't help. So, like, if Steam wasn't here and instead Epic was the monopoly, then it'd be like, well, I don't like these practices, but it's like, where else can I go?
Right.
As a user, I feel like Steam handles it probably better than anyone. With There's maybe one exception, Good Old Games. I don't know if you heard of them, GOG.
Yeah.
They're from CD Projekt Red.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing I love about them is that they have their niche in that they exclusively deal with DRM free games that don't force the digital rights management
Okay.
on you. So I do like that we have that now. Does Steam have any obligation to help people get into the market, to be their competitors? Basically, not really. So the only way that I can see Steam going down is Steam doing it themselves. The issue with like why won't people leave Steam is because Steam is so good and a lot of the other places suck.
Mm.
They don't. Why won't developers post their things on launch on Epic Games? That's a question.
No, you're right. Because if they don't trust the distributor enough that they think that their game will do as well on their market as opposed to Steam, they're not necessarily going to put it there. I get you.
Yeah, and like I said, Steam, you talk about heading into the VR space, like they're already dominant and they're still trying to find ways to offer more and more value
Mm-hmm.
to their users. So is Steam a monopoly? Yes. However, it's not because this isn't like AT&T back in the day where nobody had the ability to put up phone lines or whatever, right? Anybody can enter this space. The issue is you have to be better than what Steam is putting out, and nobody is right now. So that's why users won't leave. So this isn't a monopoly because circumstances made it a monopoly. It's a monopoly because the players have decided to make it one.
I guess that's the same concept with say like the Fortnite, like the fact that people create their own versions, like Call of Duty has their own like style of game, and other games have tried to do the same thing, but Fortnite still reigns supreme. It's just people haven't made the decision to like leave that game because that's it. Like this is what they want.
That's a good point. Like League of Legends is very much the same thing, right? Like Blizzard tried making their own MOBA game, and the people decided, now we don't like that, so we're going to keep playing League of Legends. It's like, we don't want competition just for the sake of having competition. You want good competition. There has to be a reason why you would pick one over the other. So yeah,
I get you. I tend to like lean towards the fact that many companies now they get to the top and then they get greedy, but I see what you're saying. It's just the fact that people can come up and they can rival them if they are good, like you said, but they're just not good enough yet.
So I was just looking at I actually just downloaded Good Old Games today because I noticed, I didn't know this before, but I was looking at what makes that, why would I choose them over Steam? So the digital rights management, that's a big one for me. I hate the fact that you have to be online in order to play Steam games. You have to have the client or whatever. Here it's like you own the game. You don't have just like a license to play. It's like you do, but you fully own the game. You don't have to be connected to the internet. You don't have to rely on their launcher.
Right.
You can download the launcher's optional for you. You don't even have to do it that way. You could just go on their website and download the games too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they also offer a 30-day refund policy for any game after you install it. So how Steam has the like you play for 2 hours within 2 weeks policy, this is like, well, you have 30 days, and if you got to just say if you were playing Baldur's Gate and you got to Act 3 and Act 3 was so buggy that you couldn't play it, in Steam you would have a harder time getting a refund because you'd be well past the 2-hour limit, right? Here it's like, as long as it's within the 30 days, you can return it. So I do like that.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that, and they have the they're not as strict with pricing like what Wolfire is talking about now in their lawsuit against Steam. They let you do pretty much what you want to do. So I do like the fact, I'm not saying that this is like, oh, this is just a better version of Steam. I do now. I'm like, well, there's games that I would rather play on here, and then there's games that are on Steam that make more sense. So like, not every publisher, not every developer is going to want to have DRM free games, right? If they want to have that stuff, then you're going to have to go get it on Steam and not on GOG. And let's not forget, like, Steam does offer like some crazy discounts. You look like 90% off on certain games, whatever, right? It's like, when it's that cheap, you're like, yeah, whatever, I'll give it a chance. So Steam offers a lot of value, and anybody who wants to, I think, instead of doing what Steam does, you're
Mhm.
gonna have to do something different, like what these guys are doing.
I see. That makes sense. I'm kind of like I've heard of good old games, but I have yet to like look at it. But then again, I guess I haven't really had much reason to, because Steam is like my main thing that I use my client, because again, convenience and all that. But looking at it
Exactly.
now and seeing what they offer, the fact that they did something different like with the digital rights and everything is really impressive. I'm sure that's risky business wise, because I'm sure they would want to be, well, assumptions, they could be more profitable if they kind of played the same game as Steam does, where it's like, all right, well, we're going to do it like they do it, and we're going to try to get as many games in our market as possible, kind of like what Epic Games is doing right now, is just trying to get more developers to bring them their games and be available on launch day. They want to build themselves up. But to see a company like this, they're kind of just like, well, we're gonna do our own thing, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. You have the option to do what you want. You have the freedom. 30-day thing is absolutely amazing. That's awesome. We definitely need more of that, just like that level of innovation. It doesn't seem like too much, but it's just enough to be noticeable. I kind of wish that they could be marketed a little better, or maybe I'm just looking in the wrong places. But I appreciate that they look out for the gamers in that way, and some of the deals here are actually pretty good too.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right in the marketing of it.
Hmm.
Like, I think that's just like word of mouth, letting people know. Because I've heard of good old games, but I all I knew was that it was a platform. I didn't know why I would switch to this platform, what made it better. And I just so happened to be reading a Reddit thread, and somebody was talking about why they like it, and it's like, well, wait a minute. I love Steam, don't get me wrong, but I
Yeah,
hate the fact that I need to have the client, or it always opens the client whenever I'm trying to play a game, or
yeah.
certain things is like, oh, you need to be online so it could verify if you actually own it. It's like, bro, like, that kind of stuff can annoy me, especially when you have situations like if the internet's out.
Right.
Now my library is down and I can't do anything with it, and it's like, oh, that sucks.
But honestly, at this point, I'm just thinking, as far as that whole thing with Epic trying to incentivize game developers, I think that's cool. I'm glad that they're doing something to try to give more attention to the developers now in this day and age, now that it's becoming more difficult to get noticed in the gaming space, that more people can have that opportunity to kind of like put themselves out there and like make themselves known. But I was actually also wondering, as far as the oversaturation of games goes, what would you think about the idea of like more distribution platforms coming out that focus on like maybe just one genre of game or one style of game in order to help game developers get seen? Like, for example, if there was a game store specifically for like the horror genre, so that people who are creating games for that genre can launch it, so people who are interested in just that genre of gaming go there, and they can get exposure there.
So I would ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think streaming is better now that we have Disney Plus, Hulu, Apple TV, Peacock, and all this, or was it better back when everything was on Netflix?
I liked it better when everything was on Netflix.
Yeah, so that because I already have that example in front of me, I don't know if I would like having to break up everything in these all these other different places. And now, granted, it is a little different because with the streaming platforms, you're paying every month for each one.
Right.
But I do appreciate the fact as a user
Mm-hmm.
that everything is on Steam. You
Right.
just go there and it's like, whatever
Right.
genre you want, and you can browse by genre too.
Right.
Go to categories and say I want to play platformers or third
Right.
person shooters
Right.
and whatnot. So I do like that. If I had to open up a new launcher, which I think people are already upset about, is the
Mm.
fact that there are a lot of game companies trying to make their own launchers. So
Mm.
having a launcher for each and every different type of genre, I don't know if that would work out very well. I don't. What do you think?
Honestly, that makes sense. I guess the bottom line is then it's just a matter of convenience because even though developers want to be able to get their games out there, they want them to be seen. At the end of the day, like gamers in general, they want convenience. They want what they want, but at the same time, I guess more of the responsibility should be left to the developers and their publishers to get their game out there. I mean, it's like you mentioned a little bit earlier. It's like it's not necessarily Steam's job to make sure that you get out there, so to speak. You give them the materials, they'll put it out there. They give you your percentage and whatnot. But Steam's not going to go around telling everybody, all the news networks, this game is coming out. We want you to help spread the word. It's not how it
Right.
works. But I hear where you're coming from. I get
Right.
you.
They if your game isn't being featured on Steam,
Mm,
there might be a reason for that, and you need to think about that. What
yeah.
is how are you marketing your game? Because trust me, if your game was popular, it probably would be on the front page, or if it
Right.
was part of these like huge sales and whatnot,
Mm,
then you'd find a way to get on there. But
mm.
yeah, that's definitely up to the developer and their publishers on how they market the game and getting people exposed to it.
You had anything else you wanted to add?
No, but actually, one last thing is the itch.io. I want to talk about a little bit because I
Yeah.
just discovered that today. And
Mm,
that's an interesting platform. Very
yeah.
different because it reminds me of way back in the day when I was in like high school, how we would be in computer class and instead of paying attention, you go on like eBombs World or any of these other
Yeah.
websites and you discover some Flash games and
Yeah.
you just play these random things. So they cater to the indie developer market, and from what I understand is the developer determines how much they pay itch.io. So it's not a set fee. You actually don't even have to pay them anything if you don't want to, which is weird.
Yeah. That's really fascinating. I was looking to like, am I reading it right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a very strange one. I don't know when they first got started. I saw Good Old Games came out in like 2008, which is crazy to hear that like,
right.
they're that old and they're still not
Right.
as I'm not going to say not as dominant, but like I didn't even know what they really offered.
Right. Right.
And now you have this itch.io, which this is very very unique, but
Hmm.
can you see people going here? Because it does seem like there's a lot of even back in the day with those Flash games, there is a lot of slop on there too.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that?
Um, I was looking at it the other day, and I thought it was pretty interesting how they have it set up because it's like you said, it's like when you would go on your browser and you go to one of these game sites like that, and Newgrounds, and you get to see everything that's out there. You give it a try, see if you like it, and that's just what you would play whenever you got the opportunity. And then if you want to try something else, it's like right there. You just click on it and load it up.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a really cool idea. Definitely gives me that little sense of nostalgia, and I like having the option to kind of just go in, see what's out there, see what's available, try it out, and if nothing else, it can give you like some ideas if you're looking to do something on your own or just in general. I don't necessarily see it as being something that would going back to the Steam thing, like competing with Steam, but like it doesn't look like that's their goal. Their goal is just to like let developers be developers, put their games out there. They play their games. If they play each other's games, that's what they do or whatever. Like they can do that, and it seems very easy. You don't have to download a lot of these. A lot of them say play in browser, so you can just go ahead and do it. I think it's really cool. A really cool idea.
Yeah, like it's a good place. It's like just to experiment with different things, and
Right.
the most people don't know about it, so you don't have to really worry about like, oh, the game flopped. It's kind of like you can put like crazy ideas out there and see if it sticks, if not, and then use those to help you as you build the game that you actually want to make.
Right. And it gives people opportunity Basically, what you're saying is they can pick up a game. If something is actually a hit here, it could blow up. Like someone can come and say, "Hey, can I don't know if they can say, "Oh, can I buy this game from you?" But they could take the idea or reach out to the developer and take them into their own gaming companies or something like that. Like there's a lot of potential that I see here. I think it's an awesome idea. I think they should keep doing that.
Yeah, I think we need more people doing things like this where you're not competing with Steam, you're moving in your own direction.
Right.
I really like that.
Yeah. It's like just like with good old games, like this is their thing, and I really think it's good. We need to see more innovation like this. But yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
I kind of want to play one of these now. But yeah.
Yeah, that was the last thing I had.
All right, cool. Well, then that'll about wrap this one up. All right. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out. Well, that about wraps it up for today's episode, Rebels. Don't forget to subscribe and stay informed on all things gaming. We've got some exciting projects coming up, so you won't want to miss what's next. We'd like to thank you again for tuning in and joining the rebellion. Until next time, happy gaming.